If you like the content, don't forget to click like to encourage us to continue and always provide the best. And subscribe to the channel to receive everything new. And thanks to everyone who supported us with a like and encouraged us. In the heart of the dense forest, there was a narrow path winding around old, dark trees. This path had no name on maps, but it was known among the locals as the Cursed Crossing. It was said that whoever crossed it would never return the same. On a dark, moonlit night, Nicole decided to investigate the truth behind these stories. She was an adventurer, unafraid, always searching for buried secrets and abandoned legends. With the small flame of her flashlight, she took her first step into the crossing. The forest was unnaturally silent, except for the whispers of the wind, which sounded eerily human. As Nicole slowly advanced, she felt an unusual chill creeping into her bones. She started to hear strange sounds, as if they came from deep within the earth. Sounds of crying, the dragging of feet, and faint, muffled laughter. Shadows began to dance around her, and the trees moved as if their branches were reaching out toward her. Nicole tried to ignore them and keep moving forward, but her heart pounded heavily, and her fear grew. Suddenly, she felt a cold hand grip her shoulder. She turned quickly to find a man with disheveled hair and burning eyes standing behind her. His face was pale, covered in wounds and scars. "You made a mistake coming here," he said in a hoarse voice. "You won't return the same." Nicole tried to run, but with every step, the ground beneath her feet turned into thick, sticky mud, pulling her downward. The shadows tightened around her, and the darkness dragged her deeper into the forest. As Nicole struggled to hold on, the mud turned into thick, red blood. Panic gripped her, and she began to scream, but there was no one to hear. The shadows started to take human shapes. Distorted faces and torn bodies surrounded her, whispering incomprehensible words. Amidst the chaos, Nicole heard another sound in the distance. Someone else was entering the path. It was a young man named William, searching for his missing sister. He had no idea about the Cursed Crossing. Nicole tried to scream to warn him, but her voice was muffled. She watched as the shadows crept toward William, surrounding him the same way they had with her. But William wasn't as lucky as Nicole. The shadows attacked him violently, tearing his skin and ripping his limbs. His screams echoed through the night, but there was no escape. The shadows tore William's flesh, leaving him in pieces on the ground. The gruesome scene filled Nicole with dread and horror. Blood poured onto the ground, drowning it, as the shadows devoured his body without mercy. The sound of tearing flesh and William's agonizing cries filled the air, making Nicole's heart race uncontrollably. Then the ground began to shake violently, as if responding to the spilled blood. From the depths of the darkness, new figures emerged, distorted creatures with empty eyes and sharp teeth that gleamed in the dark. These creatures slowly moved toward Nicole, seemingly carrying destruction with them. The forest transformed into a hellish scene, with trees moving unnaturally, their branches twisting like arms reaching for victims. The deformed creatures devoured everything in their path, leaving behind trails of blood and torn organs. With each passing moment, Nicole felt the breath of darkness grow stronger inside her. She began to see terrifying visions of the past, how an ancient sorcerer had used this place for his bloody rituals. The tormented souls sought revenge, looking for new bodies to possess. In a chilling realization, Nicole understood that she was no longer just a victim. She had become part of the curse. She moved without will, approaching William's torn body, gazing at his disfigured face with a sinister smile. She raised her blood-stained hands and began chanting strange, dark words, as if summoning the powers of the darkness. With every word she spoke, the darkness grew thicker and the voices more savage. Spirits began to rise from the ground, wrapping around Nicole, making her appear like the Queen of Darkness. The distorted creatures bowed to her command, and the forest turned into a kingdom of horror under her control. When Nicole woke up, she was outside the forest, but something inside her had changed. Her eyes had turned black, and her smile carried a sinister mark. Nicole was no longer the same. She roamed the city at night, searching for new victims to cross the cursed path. Nicole had now become a creature of the dark, trapped by the cursed crossing. Everyone who saw her felt intense fear, and no one knew what had happened to her inside the forest. But everyone knew that those who crossed the cursed path would never return the same. On those quiet nights, when darkness covered the city, Nicole would sneak between the alleys and deserted streets. She hunted for new victims, often choosing those who dared to doubt the legends or ventured too close to the forest. Silently, she would capture them and drag them into the cursed crossing. Her victims disappeared one by one, and their bodies were later found in the forest, disfigured beyond recognition. Torn limbs, lost souls, and empty eyes told tales of terror and destruction. Each body bore signs of brutal savagery, becoming part of the cursed legend. One moonlit night, a group of teenagers gathered in the city to challenge the legend. They were known for their bravery and recklessness, dismissing the cursed crossing as a baseless myth. They decided to enter the forest and see the truth for themselves. The leader of the group, Mark, was a bold and confident young man. He led the group toward the cursed path, believing in his heart that he could expose the legend as a lie and prove that nothing could scare him. Beside him was Ellen, the courageous girl who never left his side on any adventure. The others laughed and joked, unaware of the horrors awaiting them. As they entered the path, the atmosphere gradually changed. The wind howled through the trees unnaturally, and faint whispers grew louder around them. Ellen felt a chill run through her body, but Mark urged the group to press on, encouraging them not to be afraid. As they continued, shadows began moving strangely around them, and eerie sounds rose from every direction. Suddenly, the ground beneath their feet shook and turned into thick, sticky mud. They tried to move, but the mud pulled them down. At that moment, Nicole appeared before them, her eyes glowing with malice and rage. Ellen screamed, "What's happening here? Who are you?" But Nicole didn't respond. Instead, she raised her blood-stained hands and began chanting strange words. Suddenly, the shadows wrapped around the teenagers, pulling them with an unstoppable force. Ellen screamed as the shadows coiled around her, tearing her skin and sinking their sharp teeth into her flesh. Mark tried to protect her, but he couldn't reach her. The shadows dragged him away, and the cries of his friends echoed in the night. Each one of them suffered unimaginable torment. The shadows tore their bodies apart mercilessly, severing limbs and ripping out their hearts with cold hands. Blood poured freely, flooding the ground and turning it into a lake of horror. Ellen, in one final glance of despair, witnessed their lives vanish in mere moments. Nicole stood amidst the chaos, smiling as she enjoyed the destruction, her eyes gleaming with madness and evil. She reveled in every moment, her hands and face drenched in the blood of her victims, breathing heavily as she gazed upon the devastation she had wrought. By the end of the night, nothing remained of the teenagers but torn bodies and scattered remains in the forest. Nicole had claimed their souls and blood, and the legend of the cursed crossing had grown even more terrifying and grotesque. The next morning, traces of blood and mangled bodies were found in the forest. The stories of the cursed crossing turned into horrifying tales spread by everyone, and people warned each other to stay far away from that place. Nicole, or what was left of her, had now become a dark entity, a specter haunting the night and devouring souls. She fed on the fear of others, savoring every moment of torment and death. The curse had consumed her entirely. In the end, Nicole became a symbol of terror in the city. No one dared approach the cursed crossing again, and the legend lived on for years. Everyone knew that Nicole, the cursed ghost, still lurked in the shadows, searching for new victims to quench her thirst for blood and revenge. Nicole remained in the shadows, waiting for the next night to begin her new hunt. Everyone knew that once darkness fell, there would be no safety in the city and no escape from the cursed crossing's wrath. The legend lived, and the blood continued to tell a tale of unending horror.